This is way better than we thought, as multiple new reports have dropped surrounding one player in particular that not only has fans fired up, but changes everything for this Toronto Maple Leafs team going forward and Brad Treliving's plans. We're going to break down exactly what that is and discuss what this means, as well as a few other interesting updates, folks. Before we get into it all, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, you guys have been absolute beasts with the support lately. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. About 71% of you who are watching right now aren't subscribed to the channel, so thank you guys again for your continued support. A lot to go over today, and obviously, we've been talking a lot about trades on the channel, talking a lot about interesting transactions that are going to be on the horizon. We're going to be taking a step back today and talking about a prospect that could also be involved in some trade talks here, but that is Ben Danford. There's been some new reports. There's been a lot of rumblings lately about Danford and not only his future with Toronto, but his future in the NHL as well. And let's dive right into it here now. So we'll start with some comments by him. He says it's super surreal to obviously be in Canada's World Junior mix. And a new report came out from a source. Ben Danford has been the best player at the World Junior Showcase. He's steady, smart, and impossible to ignore. Makes every shift count, whether he's breaking up plays or starting the rush. Canada's blue line is in good hands. And this has sparked a ton of conversation about A, whether Brad Treliving should consider trading Ben Danford or not, and B, where Ben Danford fits in the future of this Toronto Maple Leafs blue line. So Darius, you're a big Ben Danford guy. He is a very, very good prospect. The Leafs, one of their top prospects. Some people might even argue, higher than Easton Cowan. I don't know if I do that, but the projections and the trajectory of a defenseman specifically is obviously very good. Makes things very interesting and a very good new, report, if you want to call it, from this source.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, the World Juniors are not just in December. There's a showcase during the summer, and that's what's happening right now. And Ben Danford was named to the team. And again, by all accounts, it sounds like he's one of the best players out there on the ice, playing with a lot of confidence right now, which is something that you love to see, especially before he makes the jump to pro hockey, which I believe is going to happen next season. He probably should be with the Marlies with Easton Cowan. We'll see how that plays out. But this is a guy that I don't think they should look at trading. Him and Easton Cowan, to me, again, I don't think there's no such thing as an untouchable. You look, at other sports and there's guys that you never thought were going to get traded, like Luka Doncic, let's say, that get traded, right? But obviously these guys come as close to that for me as possible, because Ben Danford's going to be Chris Tanev once Chris Tanev has retired and moved on from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And he looks like he's going to be a great player for this team coming up here soon. And again, it's the World Juniors. He's not playing pro or anything like that, but clearly the best player out there, blocking shots, stuff like that. He's taking on a leadership role as well, which I think is really good for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Leaf fans should be fired up about that. And just some of the quotes that are coming out, we'll cover them, in a bit in this video as well. He's just playing with a lot of confidence right now. He just came off of his second straight OHL final. It was actually him versus Easton Cowan in the London Knights for the second year in a row, which is almost unheard of in junior hockey. So, he's doing his thing. He's playing in high pressure situations. I'm excited to see what he's going to do at the pro level too.
And obviously seeing that he's exceeding expectations, I guess, or maybe even meeting, depending on how high you were on Ben Danford. You can also see here, and from another source, his physicality at the World Junior Showcase has been unreal. He's crushing guys along the boards, clearing the crease with authority, and setting the tone every shift. Plays with an edge that screams big-time tournament minutes. And obviously, as you start to look at what this team looks like going forward, is Ben Danford going to factor into the next year, even the next couple years? Like, probably not next year, but beyond that, you can start to see, some sort of spot over the next few years for Ben Danford to come in, especially given the fact that, the Leafs at this moment, their defense group is pretty set in stone, but they're aging, for sure. Even Morgan Riley, Chris Tanev, OEL, all in their 30s, mid to late, or early to mid 30s rather, by the end of their contracts, mid to late. And we saw it at multiple points throughout last year. Obviously not in the NHL, but in the other leagues. Huge hit here on Porter Martone and a decisive victory in the ensuing fight. Like, he is an absolute bruiser, and it's something that you love to see. And there's even stories coming out, but I think at the end of the day, you look at him, you look at what he can provide, it's going to be something that this Leafs team desperately needs, but it also just seems a lot better than at least I initially thought. And he was obviously a fairly highly touted prospect, but at the same time, I think he's developed so far better than a lot of fans could have imagined.
Absolutely. And he's continuing his development. And I think that, when you look at the offensive side of his game, there's still more to work on. Like, he's got a good shot, all of these things. He can move the puck, which is underrated too, because the Leafs, a couple of years ago went out and got a bunch of bigger bodies, but they couldn't move the puck. And that was an issue. And obviously that's fixed now. But like you mentioned, a lot of guys are in their early to mid 30s. You got to start thinking about this stuff. And if you trade away Ben Danford, then you have that problem all over again. Just like you have up on screen here. He lays out a big body in Porter Martone. He just went in the NHL draft, top 10 in the NHL draft. Really skilled player, really big body, lays him out. absolutely crushes him. And then he fights Stevie Lescavard, who's a Minnesota Wild prospect, who's a big boy, right? That's what he does. Like, he's a big defenseman as well that likes to throw the body around. Then he handles business against a guy like Stevie Lescavar, and love his game, respect both of those players' games. But Ben Danford's just playing on a different level right now, and I think Leafs fans should be really fired up about that because he's just going to continue to progress and take on a leadership role. I think that's another thing that he's showing right now at the World Junior Showcase and with the Oshawa Generals the last couple of years, is taking on more of a leadership role. And as he continues to do that, I could see him kind of blossoming into maybe a captain with the Toronto Marlies as we go along here, right? And just the way that he plays and what he brings to the lineup. I didn't even mention on defensive side of the game, very similar to Chris Tanev, loves to block shots, gets in the way, loves to use his physicality, stuff like that, keep guys to the outside, really good at that gap control, right? So he's going to be a really good player. I would not trade him away. I'm sure that's going to come up again at this year's trade deadline, all of these things. We've been talking about it through the summer. I wouldn't trade him. I think you've spent way too much time, energy, resources, whatever you want to call it, with Easton Cowan as well, developing these guys the last couple of years, keeping tabs on them. Now they're going to come over to the pro level and show what they have as well. And I think they're going to take these steps in the next couple of years. And I think the plan, with Danford is, again, continue your development, but I think they want him in the NHL relatively soon. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year or anything like that, but I think relatively soon. I think that is the plan for him to take over for Chris Tanev, essentially. So wouldn't trade him. I'm sure his name's going to pop up in trade talks again, but I like, kind of the player that he's turning into.
Yeah, and obviously let's dive into some quotes because there is some interesting ones from Ben Danford himself and Easton Cowan, and vice versa. And you can see here Ben Danford. We'll start with that on Easton Cowan. He said he texted me just saying good luck and stuff and congrats on the invite. He just said to take it all in. It's really fun meeting new people. Some guys are going into this and getting closer with the guys in the team and building friendships and chemistry. He's been great to feed off of that way, and that was of course on Easton Cowan. It seems like both these guys are almost a package deal at this point, and Cowan's probably a little bit ahead of Ben Danford, definitely a little bit ahead of Ben Danford on actually making the NHL team, but it's good to see that. And Ben Danford spoke in his game himself, in case some of you guys are unfamiliar or haven't watched many of the games and aren't going to with the Marlies here. I'm a defense first type of player. They've talked about sticking to your role here. Don't get out of character. So just play my type of game. Offensively, I can try and pitch in a little bit and keep improving that way, but defense first and play a hard physical style of defense. And that's what his game is, and ultimately that's what he needs to be in order to be a successful long-term NHL caliber player. And you look at, his age, he's only 19 years old. Again, he says it's pretty surreal to obviously be in the World Junior Showcase, but he, has lots of time left. 19 years old. Some people might think he's older. He's going to be an RFA in 2028 at age 22. You'd assume he's going to make his debut before then. Again, not this upcoming year, probably. Maybe the year after you can start considering that. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. A lot of new reports are coming out just praising him and saying how important he's going to be to this team. And I'm curious, would you guys be willing to trade him for a guaranteed top six forward? Because that's obviously the biggest question mark right now. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on that. And if you're excited for Ben Danford, and if not Ben Danford, who's the prospect you're most excited for heading into next season? Thank you guys for watching. See you later.